see me on the vibe, yeah, I know you know. Try to catch me slipping, but you know I won't. I got covering, watching every move. Never see me give up, now I'm in a no growth. Yeah, 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 in a no growth. Yeah, 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 in a no growth. Yeah, 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 in a no growth. Yeah, I'm in a no.
Hey everybody, how you doing? It's your favorite girl next door, Day, and welcome to Seize the Day. I have next to me my beloved sister, Monisha Parker. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Monisha, I actually got a chance to know her 2 years ago. She created an amazing book to help younger kids understand what mommy or what parents are going through. And I wanted to bring her on the show to kind of break down what she created, why she created it, and what she's working on now. And I'm just so happy to have you here. We're going to dissect some amazing topic about health and wellness in the Black community and why we don't like to go to the doctors. So, Miss Monisha,
Yes,
I'm so happy to have you on the show. So, tell me what transpired, if you can. What transpired? When did it transpire? Mm-hmm. And what made you start creating what you got a chance? Let me tell you what she created.
Yeah.
This
is my book, baby. What's Going On with Mommy, and it's a children's book, like you said. And I was inspired actually by my own children. I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. I was 28 years old, and at the time my boys were 9 and 2. So they had no idea what was going on, and I just watched them kind of watch me go through it. And I figured, once I went to the doctor, there were so many resources that they gave me to kind of help me cope, but nothing to really, how do I explain this to my children when they're seeing me lose my hair, they're seeing me tired. So I wrote a children's book, and it kind of explains a breast cancer diagnosis through the eyes of a child to make it a little less scary. So.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Thank you.
So take us on that journey. What happened? What were you feeling? And like all the way up until you got your diagnosis?
I was actually just at home a Saturday night with my boyfriend at the time. And, we were sitting around and I felt something that just didn't feel right. And immediately my heart sank because my mom had breast cancer and also my grandmother. So that's automatically where my mind went when I felt it. So the next day I told my mom that I felt something wasn't right. And so I immediately went to the doctor. I had to go through had my first mammogram and last at 28. I had a biopsy done, and it took about a week. And that Friday, I will never forget, I'm sitting at my desk at work, and the oncologist calls me, and all I remember from that conversation is her saying it's cancer. And from there, it was like a whirlwind. And I received that diagnosis in November of 2014. So from December 2014 to March 2015, I underwent chemotherapy. So I did 6 rounds of that, and that was followed by a bilateral mastectomy. I only had it in my left, but just because of my family history, I opted to just have them both removed. So I did that, and then went through reconstruction surgery. So it was a crazy ride.
And this is all before you even entered into your 30s.
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah. So I was preparing for my mastectomy a few days after my 29th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Talk about strength. So speaking of strength, where did you, you mentioned that your grandmother and your mother went through breast cancer. Is it fair to say that you pulled from them during this time on how to kind of go through and maneuver through this diagnosis?
Absolutely. I lost my grandmother in 2012, and me and my mom always say my grandmother was the blueprint because she never complained. She encouraged other people in the midst of her going through, and then I watched my mom go through the same way. And actually, my mom just had surgery this month on the 12th because she had a recurrence. So she was re-diagnosed. So I definitely have yeah, I'm strong because of the strong women that came before me. Absolutely.
Well, we know that is already, she's already healed.
Yes.
We already claiming that.
Absolutely.
So with the diagnosis at 28, dealing with 2 boys, how, like, what started going through your mind, and like how did you start relaying the message to your boyfriend at the time and your kids?
It took me a while. My mom was actually the first person that I called when I found out. And it's so funny because when she went through it, she was just like the image of strength. But that was the hardest phone call I've ever made, is having to tell my mom, because she just fell apart. So I had to be strong for her. And just the thought of, thinking of cancer, like people die from cancer. So I'm like, my boys are so young. Like, how do you tell a child without scaring them? Especially my oldest, because he was 9. So he had watched my grandmother's diagnosis, and he had watched my mom. So he know, okay, one person passed. My grandma's still here. So it was just a lot of letting them be involved and not letting them see me in the moments where I was like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
So they were actually amazing helpers. They wanted to know everything that was going on. I let them go with me to some doctor's appointments. So just kind of letting them be involved in the process.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is amazing. So, like, was your boyfriend, like, very supportive during this time?
He was, and it was scary because it was still kind of early in our relationship. So it was one of those things where my parents set him down like, listen, if you're not in it for the long haul, this might be a time, because there's a lot of changes. Like, I'm like, my hair is about to be gone. Like, physically, I was going through a lot, but he was super supportive.
I love to hear that.
I kept him around, so we're very good.
He's a keeper. Look, he passed the test.
Right.
Yes, all good. Oh my goodness. So, like, just like I'm listening to you. You're just so joyful.
Yeah.
And not making anything about myself. Like, so, like, I went through a period where I had to go through. I got the diagnosis of cancer as well. It wasn't the same kind, but it was Hodgkin lymphoma, and which is cancer of the lymph nodes. And I remember that call. I remember going through that whole situation, which I won't get into right now because, like I said, this is we're talking about you. But I know, like, how important, like, the mindset, training your mindset to be positive through the situation. Like, how did you stay positive?
Yeah, and that's what I always tell people, that the mental part of it is probably worse than what you go through physically. So I relied heavily on my faith. Like, that's what really pulled me through is my faith. I couldn't have done it. And then just having positive people around me, because some people automatically, they want to throw you a pity party, and you cannot go there, right? So I'm like, it's not a death sentence.
It's not.
No. So that was a big part that helped me just, just knowing and believing that I was already healed. So that my faith, absolutely.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I went through the same thing. Absolutely. So I wanted, every episode I like to tackle like a topic, and the topic that I wanted to tackle tonight was doctors and the Black community. I feel like a lot of times in our community we are afraid to go to the doctor, or we don't have the resources to go to the doctor like we should, and so we kind of sweep a lot of things under the rug. How important can you stress that it's important that you go to the doctor, even if you think it's like the smallest little thing? It's
so important. And I tell people all the time, I tell my friends, like, even my situation just happened to be cancer, but just with anything, like, pay attention to your body. If you feel like something is off, if you talk to your doctor and they disregard it, get a second opinion, get a third opinion. And actually for me, after I finished chemo, like, there was never a discussion of kind of fertility, and it wasn't brought up until I was halfway through with treatment. So at that point, my doctor was saying, it's a good thing you have 2 boys, because it's very unlikely that you'll be able to have any more children. So she even went as far as to schedule the surgery to have my ovaries and fallopian tubes removed, like, without really talking to me about it. I just happened to go to the doctor, and they were like, "Yeah, your surgery is this date." And thank God, I was like, I just don't feel like that's something that I want to do. I advocated for myself. I found another doctor, and had I gone through with that, I have a daughter who just turned 2. So I'm like,
wow.
Had I just said, okay, that accepted that and went along with it, I would have thought, okay, well, I can't have any more children. So I can't stress enough. I tell everybody, like, if you need a second, third opinion, go get it. Like, you just can't accept everything.
The first thing, yeah.
Right.
Wow, and that was it. Don't accept a diagnosis just because a doctor told you.
Right.
Because even like going back with me, they told me it was leukemia. So I would have thought it was a much harsher cancer. Yeah. You know, but I went back and it was like, no, it's this.
Yeah.
So, wow.
And you don't know when you're in that mode of when you hear cancer, period, you're like, okay, what do I need to do?
Exactly.
And I found out later on that like the combination of the chemo that I had was like so aggressive, and even my second oncologist I went to, he was like, I would never give my patients that dosage. So it was just so many things that I just didn't know, because you automatically go into survival mode. Like, what do I need to do to get over this hump? So it's so important to advocate for yourself, do your own research, ask as many questions as you can. So absolutely.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
Monisha, I'm so happy that you came on the show.
Thank you.
So if you can, like, kind of like go over like I know you talked about your children's book, but you also just released a new book.
I did on February 8th. My mother and I actually wrote this book together. So it's us kind of sharing our stories, and we also share kind of our faith. So we have devotionals. It's kind of twofold. And it's self-exam. So I kind of talked my mom into doing it. I was like, we really need to do something together. So we're sharing our story, sharing our faith, and
yay! Oh my goodness. So can you please tell the people and the viewers where they can like find you on social media, and how can they purchase their books?
My both books are available online at www.purposepaintedpink.com, and it's also my blog. I blogged my whole breast cancer journey.
Wow.
And I am on Instagram is Monisha Shante 0503. And then Monisha Parker on Facebook and all other platforms. But
oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Monisha, for coming on the show and sharing your testimony, being so intimate. Like, this is definitely an intimate journey and an intimate topic, you know. So the fact that you came on and were so comfortable and open, I thank you so much.
You for having me.
We definitely are so gracious that you came. Everyone, make sure you go and follow her. Make sure you purchase you a book. If it's not for you, definitely for somebody else, because we are all in this together. You know, I'm a firm believer of community. So if you're not going through it, you probably know somebody who's going through it, or know somebody who knows somebody who went through it or going through it. And these books, I mean, are powerful. I mean, kids especially who don't know what's going on, you know, to the people that they look up to. So thank you so much for your obedience. Thank you for your obedience and sharing your creativity and what you went through.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you guys know what I always say, tomorrow is never promised. So make sure you please get out and seize today.